Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome here. Sometimes people working on their self-leadership express that they are frustrated trying to change a habit. This could either be implementing a new one or letting go of a habit that isn't working for them. So let's look at some possible reasons why a habit change may not be working for you. Waking up at 5 a.m., reading more books, changing our use of social media or spending habits, eating healthier food, doing more regular physical exercise. These are all examples of typical habits we try to change for the better. We usually become especially aware of this around the new year, and we tell ourselves that starting from January 1st, I will turn over a new leaf. But then we quickly find ourselves back in our old routines. Why did the habit change not work? Possible reason number one, something is wrong with your why. And most commonly, this is not really being sure why we want to change this habit. Not being 100% sure about the benefits of this habit. Is it really worth it? This can happen when we quickly get enthusiastic to change something, but our enthusiasm is quite superficial. When we haven't built up a resilient motivation that will stay strong in the face of challenges. When we just maybe overheard someone saying that something has benefited them, and then we have this quick thought of, let me also do this. That's not really a resilient motivation. And then we can unconsciously sense that the rewards and the costs of implementing this habit are out of balance. And then we give it up without really even consciously maybe noticing that this process was going on in the back of our minds. And to prevent this from happening, what you can do is to test this habit change of if it's beneficial. First of all, is it beneficial in general? Have others benefited from it? Is there maybe some science behind it that proves that this is something that makes sense? And then in the second phase of testing this habit change, if it's worth it, you can test if it's actually worth it for yourself personally. Just because it's helpful for others doesn't necessarily have to mean it's helpful to you. And here it's helpful to tell yourself that I'm going to try this out for 1 month or some other frame of time in which it makes sense to really also feel the benefits and possibly discover them. So instead of committing yourself to changing a habit for the rest of your life that you maybe have never even tried before, commit yourself to 1 month. It's a lot easier to motivate yourself to keep something up for 1 month than for the rest of your life. And then when that month is over, you can check if it was worth it for you and if you want to continue with this for longer time. And if you have decided that this is something that you want to change and it's benefiting you, do something to stay aware of the benefits of this habit change. Sometimes the benefits of the habit change can get lost in daily life. So you could write them down. You could stay in contact with people who also change their habits in this way and are also experiencing those benefits in their life. You could read books, get input on why this is a beneficial habit. So to stay in contact with the benefits of this habit change, even when you have implemented it and done it for a long time, until it's completely sturdy and it's not like the doubt of, is this worth it, doesn't even cross your mind anymore. Possible reason number two, another super common one, trying to change too many things at once or too big of a thing at once. Problem here is that we're being too ambitious. And the solution is not to let go of your long-term bigger goal, but to break it down into smaller steps. If we try to change too much at once or too big of a thing at once, we may be setting ourselves up for failure. We may try to change in such a strong way that actually nobody would be able to change that much in this short of a time. And then we can get into kind of a cycle of setting ourselves up for failing at changing by attempting to change too much, failing the change, and then developing this self-concept of I'm someone who can't change. Whenever I've tried it, it didn't work. So you want to really protect your own belief in yourself that you're someone who can change by changing in small steps. Every small thing that you are able to change is another proof to you that you can change. And even if you feel like you've never been able to change much, don't let yourself be defined by your past, because it doesn't define you. It's never too late to start anew. Let's look at an example. Let's say you want to do more physical exercise. Instead of coming up with a super complicated exercise plan, or maybe even just instead of saying to yourself that you want to exercise several times a week, start with once a week. That may not even seem like a lot, but compared to not exercising, it's a huge change. Sometimes we devalue these small positive steps. We think that if I'm not going to be doing some complicated plan of different types of exercise at different times of the day, every single day, then I might as well not do it at all. And this kind of black and white thinking is not helpful when we're trying to change. If we think about it, someone who exercises once a week will have exercised 52 times more at the end of the year than not having exercised at all. So choose small steps, and once these small steps have become a very stable habit, you can think about trying to change more. Possible reason your habit change may not be working, number 3, you're not prepared enough. A successful habit change needs to be prepared and planned. We need to plan what exactly it is we want to change, when we're going to be doing this. We need to get everything we need to execute the habit. We need to set ourselves reminders so that we will stay conscious of this habit change during the day. And we need to eliminate everything that may not be supportive of this habit. I cannot overemphasize the role that our environment plays when we try to change a habit. A very demonstrative example for this happened at the end of the Vietnam War, when the US-American soldiers returned back to the US. A lot of them had actually developed a heroin addiction in Vietnam. And it was a big worry how the country is going to support these men to give up this habit that they had newly acquired and which was very detrimental for them. And interestingly enough, the majority of these men stopped using heroin completely by themselves. Just by shifting their environment, they stopped this habit because they were back in their home, they were not bored, and they didn't have a dealer. The heroin was more expensive. All of these things made it hard for them to keep up this habit, and so they stopped just by the way their context and their environment had changed. So what we need to do if we want to change a habit is not necessarily move into another country, but to think about how can I change my environment and context in such a way that it will be most supportive of this habit change. For example, let's say you want to stop eating a certain type of food. Set up a context and environment that makes it hard for you to access this type of food. A successful habit change doesn't mean being strong at the face of temptation. Rather, it means changing your context and environment in such a way that you're not faced with temptation in the first place. So throw the junk that you want to let go of out of your apartment. Don't go into the aisle of the shop where this specific item is being sold. Maybe you even want to change your way to or from work so that it doesn't lead you by this shop that tempts you. Think about how you can change your environment and context so that it is supportive of your new habit. Possible reason number 4, an ineffective way of dealing with challenges, exceptions, and setbacks. Every new habit change is going to be challenging, and there will be situations in which it is going to be harder than in other situations to keep up with our new habit. So what we can do to support the habit change is to prepare for these situations, to consciously think about when is it going to be hard to keep this up, and then to do everything we can to make it easy in that situation. Maybe we can let others know about our habit change so that they won't have a certain expectation that we're not going to be able to fulfill. Maybe we can think about rescheduling the day of this new habit to another day if it's a conflict of time. Or maybe we can prepare something else in advance that will make it easier for us to stay with our new habit in that situation. Like if you change your diet and you want to eat out with friends, maybe you can check the website of the restaurant and see what on their menu supports your diet. So you can already go there knowing what you can have, and you don't have to look at everything on the menu that you would rather not eat. So prepare for challenges, and if you're going to have an exception, if your new habit change in your understanding allows for exceptions, or there are just days where it's not going to happen, plan them consciously. Don't give into the exceptions spontaneously on the spur of the moment, because that can lead to these kind of exceptions accumulating, and then the new habit might get lost slowly in the course of time. And another thing that's important here is if something did go wrong, if you gave into something or you didn't follow up on something that you wanted to do, to deal with yourself in a self-compassionate way. If you're going to beat yourself up for not following through on your new habit, it'll only make it worse. It'll decrease your motivation, and it might even push you into your old habits even more. Why this is so, I've explained in a previous video. I will link it up here if you're interested in going deeper into that. The main point is be self-compassionate. Know that challenges are part of the process and that beating yourself up is not going to help. Possible reason number 5, you're doing it in a way that makes it unnecessarily uncomfortable. Often when we start practicing a new habit, we go into it with a mindset of, I'm going to have to force myself to do this. And then we get into this mode or mindset of powering through it. And this mindset can lead to us overlooking certain aspects of the habit that we could actually approach in a different way that would make it a lot more enjoyable and easier to stick with. For example, eating healthy food doesn't mean that you have to eat something that is tasteless. It's a question of learning how to cook in a healthy way. Doing physical exercise doesn't mean pain or boredom. Maybe you can go outside and make it more pleasurable by feeling nature. Or maybe you can listen to an audiobook and in this way engage your mind while you're also engaging your body. Watching less TV doesn't mean that you're going to be bored. It just means you have more time to do things that are important to you otherwise. Getting up early in the morning doesn't mean you're going to be tired the whole day. It just means also going to bed earlier. So make sure that you're not overlooking aspects of the situation that you could make more enjoyable and more comfortable, because the more enjoyable you can make it, the better, because the easier it will be to follow through on this habit change. These were 5 possible reasons your habit change may not have worked out in the past. And if you want to try again, make sure to formulate a very strong why, to take small steps, to prepare your context so that it is supportive, to prepare for challenges and be self-compassionate after setbacks, and to go about it in a way that makes it as enjoyable as possible. And remember, once the habit has become a routine, and this is the beauty of it, it will take far less energy to keep it up. At one point, it will feel weird or not doing it. The inner struggle goes away almost completely, or it really goes away completely. You will just not think about it anymore. It will just be something that you do without having to consider if you want to do it or not. And maybe you'd like to start a new habit right now that is regularly reflecting on your self-leadership. You can do that by subscribing to this channel. And if you're anyway clicking buttons, why not also leave a like so that YouTube knows that this video is something it can also recommend to others. And if you enjoy Facebook groups, we have our own group. It's called Becoming Expert at Self-Leadership. You're very welcome to join us. Take good care of yourself. I look forward to being in contact again soon. Bye-bye.